Hello, everybody. How are you doing? It is 7 o'clock. Well, it's a little bit past 7. It's Thursday evening, and it's time for Content and Cocktails. We are going to be talking all things video testimonials, which is a little bit of a change from what I was planning on doing. So I was planning on doing some video editing training, but I think we're going to save that for tomorrow. As I think probably video editing plus a cocktail isn't necessarily going to be the world's most illuminating thing for everybody, but so I thought I would come on and have a chat around everything to do with video testimonials. So I had a really interesting bit of information come through from a client, Claire Jones. She shared a post. She shared basically a win with me, which is great. And I'm going to share my screen because this has prompted me to really get thinking about testimonials. And so it says, so Claire said to me, hang on, let's just increase so Claire Jones said to me, just to say this, so this is talking about the testimonials we did for her. Just to say this is so worth it. I had just this week had a new long-term client start with me who cited watching one of the video testimonials that Tom made for me as the moment when she knew she had to work with me. She'd already made her mind up before our initial call. The overall price of her package is 7 times what I paid Tom. So that means I'll make the investment back 7 times over. No brainer. And I really wanted to come on and share this because it's one of those things that when you get somebody saying something like that, it reminds you, even when on the days when you're not feeling great and you're having a bit of that old imposter syndrome, those which I have been having today. It was lovely to get that, and really cheered me up, and I wanted to sort of come on and talk about it. It just got me thinking about why video testimonials work so well. And I want to talk about a little bit about the strategy that you could employ to use video testimonials as part of your marketing and your sort of your kind of comms strategy, as it were. So it is something that is for I think for anybody with a business, video testimonials can add a great deal. So we're going to talk through that. It is Content and Cocktails, and whilst I'm flying solo this evening, so I've decided. So last week, Sneha came in, and we did a sort of a joint live together, which was great. Yes, is that Debbie? I think that's Debbie. Yeah, you got so Debbie. So we'll get on to the whys and wherefores. So Facebook user Debbie says, I think it's Debbie, says yes, it is. There we go. I thought it was. So tonight's cocktail is coming from, we've gone from the usual. So we're not doing cocktails from Bernard. So normally, for those of you who are new to this nonsense, normally we take our cocktails from this little tome, which is a 1945 cocktail book. And whilst many of the cocktails in here are very nice, they are, let's say, they're all sort of, it's a bit of a crapshoot as to whether or not you get one that tastes lovely or one that tastes like hell in a glass. So I thought I'd go to Larousse's Cocktails, which is like, a fabulous book with which has seen much use over the years. And I thought we'd go to the dry cocktails department, and we're going to go for a rose. So this is a nice departure. It's a bit blousy, if I'm honest. I'm not against a blousy cocktail. So it is a measure of Kirsch. Got the Kirsch. Some dry vermouth. So we've got some Lillet Blanc. And a quarter measure of cherry brandy with a maraschino cherry in the bottom. So we're going to make that. And it's entirely possible that this could be one of those content cocktails where there is a second beverage that that gets made, because this strikes me as quite an easy drinker. So you may be treated to a vintage content cocktails, or you may be treated to one where I sort of endlessly go off topic. So as we talk our way through the world of video testimonials, we will sip on a rose. So it's a stirrer. So it says, place the ice, Kirsch, vermouth and cherry brandy in a mixing glass. So we're going to put the ice there. Kirsch is a measure, so we'll put a measure of that into there. So this is interesting tonight. As I say, I've sort of been feeling a bit sort of down in the dumps today for whatever reason, and I almost didn't do this evening. But I'm in that position where I've done this so many times. The format, and this is something actually, Debbie, that we're talking about live video quite extensively in the membership. On evenings where, or points in time where you think, I just don't know if I've got it in me to go live, I can fall back on the format, which is what I've done tonight. I know it's going to be okay. I know it's not going to be difficult. I know there's going to be nice people to talk to, and I know I've got a system to fall back on. So we put the Kirsch in. What have we got? Vermouth. Oh, it's just chuck it all in and stir it. It's not really very complicated, is it? So it's not very complicated. Put it all in, give it a stir, put it in a glass with a cherry. So half a measure of Lillet. And half a measure of cherry brandy, which is good because we haven't got much cherry brandy left. The cocktail cabinet is looking a little bare. So we have this, and we're going to give it a stir. Stir with a mixing spoon for 8 to 10 seconds. I'm not going to count it out. It smells really nice. So yeah, this is a fairly like I say, quite a blousy. Oh, that's quite nice actually. It's very dry. So that's the Kirsch. So we're going to just strain this into the and then pop a cherry in the bottom. Open up there. Very nice. So this is the rose from the Larousse cocktail book. So cheers, everybody. That's very nice. I like that. That's a good departure from the normal sort of Bernard whack over the head of strong alcohol. It's a strong one, but it's kind of a, it's a very sort of, it's cherries and it's kind of it's it's quite sweet, but not unpleasantly so. It's got the sort of cut through of the dryness from the vermouth. Yeah, so that's a rose. I'll share that in the group. So yeah, I might just talk about this for a second. So I was looking at this and thinking, it's an odd one, really, this whole content and cocktails thing, because it shouldn't really work. We're talking about video, and we're talking about marketing, and I basically used it as an excuse to sit down and have a quiet drink for an hour once a week, and I've done it for 3 years now. This is the crazy thing. Admittedly, this year has been a bit more hit and miss, but I've kind of got back into it. I've now been doing it again for a couple of months. So, and I'll ask a question here. Who here is using video testimonials already? Because I'm going to talk you through. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk through the sort of, first of all, some of the reasons you might use them, and more importantly, how you can use them in the business. And I'll who's this? Who have we got here? You might just have to hit me with a just a note, because we are on Melon. I've moved over to Melon now. So somebody's saying I do have some. It's Debbie. Yes. Okay. There we go. Good. Well, so let's talk about the fundamental value of a video testimonial. There is a world of difference between having somebody just send you a text sort of quote and using that, as opposed to seeing somebody talk with passion and excitement about the service that you've delivered. And actually that little bit of that small piece, this one that Claire Jones shared with me, is a really great example of a written testimonial. I like taking the screenshot and using it like that, because it feels like it has whilst you can very easily mock that up. I say very easily, you can mock it up in something like Canva or on any digital design package. It's that there's a sort of a paper trail here, if you see what I mean. But but in the past you'd sort of see on websites quotes where people would say Tim from Reading says that that this was the best restaurant he's ever been to, and it's on the website, and you think, really, does Tim from Reading exist? And there's always that sort of kernel of doubt that's in there, just sort of sitting there, kind of worming away when people are reading written testimonials, where you think, well, yeah, I guess Tim from Reading could exist, but if it's just like a first name and a glowing quote, you think, I'm not sure I 100% believe it. But a video testimonial, that's a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it? When you're actually seeing a human being tell a story about their experience with the service you offer. When we are looking to make decisions, be it about a product or a service, if you've got a third party telling you, validating your choice, validating the things that you've been told about by the seller, by the person offering the service, if you've got a third party delivering up that information, then that's a very different prospect. And when it comes to decision making, I can never remember the exact stats, which is pretty bad, really, isn't it? Hang on. I've got them. So yes, it's one of these kind of, I'm trying to find the attribution for this, but it's one of these stats that gets rolled out regularly about landing pages with video content on them, testimonial content, improves conversion rate by 25%. And the thing is, I can completely believe that, because it makes a difference for me when I'm buying. If I watch a video and it says, so and so did a really good job, and they kind of like in this kind of situation gave me a 7 times return on investment. That's a great thing. You want, so I need to get Claire to say that on video, and we will get that. But for me, that testimonial then doesn't just work for that. That just keeps on telling that story, because video is a scalable medium. You can get that out in all sorts of different places, and for me, this is where it gets really interesting. The ways we use video testimonials doesn't have to be purely on like a static landing page. You can be much more proactive with your video testimonials. So we did work for a client, a builder. This is going back sort of probably the best part of 7 or 8 years ago now. And up in the West, this is when we were still up in the West Midlands, and they were a builder who was looking to continue working with high net worth individuals. They specialized in delivering projects for very wealthy people who wanted a safe pair of hands for their sort of grand design style projects. And they wanted to get some testimonials, but the problem is that a lot of these people were quite private. They didn't necessarily want to be sort of advertising the fact that this was their house and how much money they'd spent on it. So we took the approach and said, look, this doesn't have to be a mass audience thing. In fact, it probably shouldn't be. If we can persuade 1 or 2 of your clients to stand in front of a camera or sit in front of a camera and tell their story, and if that is only ever used in a very, very targeted way as part of your sales process, then that will be a much more effective use of the video testimonial. So in that situation, we got a couple of people to sort of tell the story of working with this builder, how these projects we're talking sort of 5 million plus. So we're not talking small sums of money here. We're talking people with large chunks of change to drop on their build, but they wanted a safe pair of hands, and we got them to tell that story about why they chose the builder, what it was like, because in many cases these people just sort of upped and left the country for sort of 6 months and came back to a house that was built as per their specification. And for a lot of them, they'd sort of if they'd worked with builders before, if any of you have built a house or had anything to do with kind of a lot of builders, and I'm sorry if there are any builders watching at the moment, but sometimes it can be difficult. You'll sort of cross your fingers and hope the spec gets met. But these guys were great at that. And so the way that the video testimonials were used for that audience was that they used it in a really, really targeted way. So when they were in that sales process, so they'd get the brief, they'd write up their quote for the work, and then before where they a link to a video testimonial from these other high net worth people who'd worked with them. And so before the meeting, they just send an email saying, really looking forward to our meeting on Monday. And it was a handful of people each year, because you don't need too many 5 to 10 million pound build projects to fill up your pipeline. So maybe, I don't know, 6 people saw the film a year, but they found that just the simple act of having their prospects hear from people like them gave them a huge degree of confidence, and they reckon it was some of the best money they spent to tell those stories, to tell those testimonials, to tell those kind of kind of customer stories that were sort of deployed in a sniperish way. You know, they were deployed really, really specifically. Nothing kind of, no scattershot sales, no sort of mass market sales pages. Video testimonials used in a very precise and in a very focused way. I'm gonna have a cherry. So is that making sense so far? You've got to make a choice as to whether or not it's kind of, you know, where it sits in your marketing funnel. Is it something that's going to be shared to everybody all of the time, or is it something you sort of hold in your back pocket as a sort of a as a sort of finisher? You know, is that kind of right? Look at this. You know, you've kept that in your back pocket for a moment where you need something really persuasive. If somebody is kind of, you know, close to making the decision, and you've got somebody like them telling them it was easy, it was good, all of that kind of stuff, that can be very powerful. Because when we see testimonials, when we hear from people like us, it's very comforting, because the buying process and the selling process isn't a case of, you know, it's a balance between the emotions of buying something and the logic of buying something. And we're always moving people or being moved between two states when we buy something. The logical decision-making part of us wants lots of facts and figures and all that kind of stuff. And the kind of emotional side of us wants to feel good about the process of buying something, wants to feel validated. And so video testimonials can do just that. They can provide that validation. They can provide that that sort of comfort, but they can also provide the facts and figures. You know, when you've got somebody being very candid about their build, because they knew that they could be candid about their, you know, in the builder's case, that these individuals knew that it wasn't going to be sort of shared generally, because there was a very specific agreement that was written up around each testimonial, and that was a really valuable kind of approach for them. You know, in a very literal sense, you know, they got a lot of value out of it. They sold a lot more projects. And actually, for them, it was, you know, it was incredible. It was some of the cheapest and best marketing they did. For the, you know, they only needed one 7-figure project to come off, and to have had like a kind of, you know, we're talking hundreds-fold return on investment, possibly thousands. You know, yeah, probably thousands actually. So. But the world has moved on now. So those, you know, 7-8 years ago, those were very those were high-end, very polished testimonials. But the world of social media has changed stuff quite radically. And now we value authenticity and honesty, and the kind of content that we're talking about now for testimonials feels a lot less produced, but we still want it to be on brand. So we, you know, I've got an approach which I use, which we're going to be doing with Debbie, around, you know, sort of doing online interviews with people. So we still get that sort of, we get to have that honesty, we get to have that sort of realness, as it were, of the sort of the online video, you know, a Zoom interview. So it doesn't feel overproduced. It doesn't feel kind of too polished. Because when those things feel too polished, on some level, if we're looking at a video testimonial and it's very polished and finished and kind of perfect, there's part of us that thinks, I'm not sure I believe that. I think that's false, which we do not want people to be thinking. We want people to be feeling the honesty. I might have another one of those. That was nice. So who have we got on tonight? I'm just looking at I'm trying to work out where people are. So Debbie, I think Debbie's still here. I can't tell, but give me a shout out. Let me know how you're doing today whilst I mix another drink. And if you hit me with some questions about testimonials. And tell me where you are. So we're multi-streaming this. So there are people on Facebook potentially seeing this. Yeah, Debbie's still. You're still here. Well done, Debbie. You're putting up with this nonsense, you know. It's lovely that you're still here, and as I'm still here. Yes. Oh. I've gone back to melon because I realised that someone says I'm just chilling instead of working on my spammy email. Spam. What makes it a spammy email? I'm curious to know what's making this email spammy. Sorry, I'm just measuring out my. Are you offering people the opportunity to get some? Oh, Andy Jacobs has just messaged me to say, Tom, can you not see my comments? I can't. Whoa, where are they coming from? This is weird, isn't it? Gosh. Oh, melon. Hang on. I think I might be missing a whole bunch of comments. If you are watching this and going, Tom Stanhope is ignoring me, I'm not. I'm just just had a message, and I always call my monthly email a spammy email. They're usually selling with a hint of yes. I like that. Oh, yes. So, gosh. So I can see Janelle and Andy. I'm so sorry that. Why are your comments not coming up? This is weird. That is strange. Gosh. Well, there we go. The joys of the flipping internet. I'm definitely mixing myself another drink. So I am monitoring. Oh, this is gonna bug the hell out of me. Why is that not working? Well, Andy, I can see them there on there, so I am able to. So Andy says, at the moment, I'm just using my reviews from Etsy, which are verified and come from as far afield as Mexico and New Zealand. All 5-star, very encouraging. So, just to say, if those of you haven't sort of seen Andy Jacobs' work, he produces these rather beautiful fly-tied brooches, fly-tied brooches, and he has an Etsy shop called Damsels, and so he's getting written testimonials. Now there are ways to. Oh dear, I'm getting some rather inappropriate comments coming from somebody. Yeah, we don't want any of that. Nice. Sorry, there's some. I'm going to go onto YouTube and kick some and block somebody because I am getting some really unsavory comments coming from somebody whose name is too inappropriate to mention. I will not. Here we are. We're going to get rid of that, I think. Oh dear. Okay. Well, we'll deal with that as it comes. If you see me blushing profusely, it's because I'm getting very, very rude messages from somebody. Yes. So Andy says, I'd love to get some video testimonials, but my customers usually buy one fairly low-cost item, and if they live in Oz, it's a non-starter. Well, so somebody like Carol Devaney, she'd do a testimonial for you, I'm sure of it. There are plenty of people, and so I'm speaking directly to Andy here because I was thinking about this. There's a couple of things you can do here. You can take your text testimonials and you can turn them into animated text, which is a nice way to do it. I think I might do a little bit of an impromptu bit about that in the membership. So taking testimonials and sort of vidifying them. So that is something which I will put on the list of things to do because that would be quite cool. It's really flummoxed me why I can't see your darn comments. That is really annoying me. And I cannot for the life of me work out why that should be the case. The joys of tech. Let me just get onto my profile. There we go. Yeah, you see. Yeah, I'm not sharing the comments, Andy. It was totes and approps. Yeah, you see, you've got UK but and sort of UK and European based comments customers to get some videos from, and I think the process shouldn't be too difficult for you. I think that would be a rather nice thing to do. But yeah, Carol would do it. I'm sure she would. She is an incredibly busy woman, but she is one of the kindest and most generous people I've had the fortune to meet. So we've talked a bit about the sort of some of the benefits, and there are this is a real kind of a topic that I absolutely love getting into because it's potential. It's one of these things that's I fervently believe that every business should be doing this, and it is one of those kind of areas that people shy away from for a number of reasons. Some people feel a bit icky about asking. The ask can feel difficult sometimes, and so you kind of don't want to, you feel like you can't ask, and we get very British about it sometimes. You go, I don't want to bother you, but would you mind terribly if I got you to and then we realize what we're asking somebody to do is for them to kind of basically tell you how good you are, which can feel quite like, asking those questions is hard work. And I am guilty of this. A really good example of this is that over in May, I ran a sort of what ended up being a really, really amazing couple of days up in Worcestershire, and Andy was one of the people there. I held back from asking for testimonials, and it was actually was actually Karen Dawkins and Andy, who basically kind of strong arm me into remembering to get them, which was great. But I physically couldn't. I found it very difficult to ask, because it's like that sort of, oh, I don't kind of yes, sometimes bribery does work. I mean, I just fed Andy and gave them drink, and so people gave me these lovely testimonials, and but I had to go and sort of stand behind a tree and put my hands over my ears, because I found it chronically embarrassing to sort of even that sort of thing where you think, oh God, I don't want to ask for it, but we sort of have to get over that. Now, I'm really, really happy to ask for other people, but it's because I've got no, the only skin in the game I've got is as me as a producer for my clients. So we sometimes have to be brave, but like Deb says, you can offer an, but people, like you said, they did volunteer first. That's a nice thing to do. I think that's kind of fine. It's like, if somebody volunteers first, and then you say, well, as a thank you, I'd like to give you this. That's great. But I think sometimes you can incentivize the wrong kind of motivations, and I think it's important sometimes to get the right people saying the right things for the right reasons. And I like that idea of giving, offering something once the free offer has been made. So as long as somebody's offered without inducement, that for me is where it's sort of where the sweet spot lies. So yeah, that's Deb, you've done it in exactly the right way. So yeah, so the whole testimonial thing is fascinating, because we want, what we want is people sharing the successes, but sometimes it's really good to make sure you include a little bit of grit in there, because what people don't necessarily always believe when it comes to testimonials are those testimonials where the sun is always shining. And there are ways to get people to talk about some of the challenges they faced doing the work without it being obviously about you, because what you don't want is somebody turning up saying it was really difficult working with them. And what we want to is, we're looking for a sort of a journey of triumph in the testimonial and case study. Now, so here's something: testimonials and case studies, in my head, they're two slightly different things. A testimonial is quite short and sweet and is like a very sort of focused thing. A case study tells a big story. So when I say testimonials and case studies, whilst they are related, they are slightly different things in my mind. So actually, this very week, I was supposed to be in France getting testimonials for a company called Zuken. But that's been pushed into next year. Zuken are a lovely company, so I've been liaising with their team in Germany. They're a Japanese company, and I don't know if they're still based in Bristol. They had a UK centre in Bristol, but I've been dealing with the marketing team through the German side of the operation. And I was supposed to be driving down to Vichy on Monday, but a couple of weeks ago it was shunted into next year, which I'm eternally grateful for, actually, because it was the prospect of a drive down to the sort of middle of France. Although Vichy is somewhere I've never been, I've always kind of fancied it, a sort of autumnal trip to a spa town in the middle of France. It's close to Clermont-Ferrand, which made me laugh, because if you learnt French in the 70s or 80s and used the Tricolor books, Clermont-Ferrand kind of featured heavily in those books as being sort of some kind of exemplar of a very normal French town. My French is terrible, so I can certainly, anyone I meet, I can definitely ask them if they have any siblings or pets. So we'll be getting to this. I've got a few months to sort of get completely fluent. It's not going to happen. So we do, of course, have a little offer on at the moment. And for those of you who are working through my who are in the membership, working through the this month's live video stuff, this is what I was talking about yesterday. This is a call to action. Whilst I'm not going to do it at the end, well, I will do it at the end, but I'm doing it here. This is a little commercial break. So the video testimonials thing is we have a service which is kind of based on the premise of virtual filming sessions, where we get virtual testimonials for you. So we organize a filming session with a client of yours, and we ask them about usually between sort of 7 and 8 or so questions, and from those 7 or 8 questions we get a whole bunch of videos from them. And I'm doing a 2-for-1 on this at the moment. So if you, for 300 and what is it, 365 pounds? No, 359 pounds. Good grief, that is a bargain, isn't it? For 359 pounds, I will do it for you. We will do it for you, but it's 2-for-1. So for the staggeringly teeny tiny outlay of 359 pounds, you get about 18 short films or so. It's crazy. Telling a story about your clients, and how much they love what you do, and we'll manage that process for you. If you give us the contact details, we'll contact the client. We have a session at the top of the process where we identify the kind of questions and sort of the points that you need to make. You need people to communicate, and we go off and we get them. And I'll share one with you, actually. So where is Claire? Because I'll share it with you. Claire Jones. Excellent. There we go. Right, I'll just share this. So this video here is just, so this is an interview with Abigail Horn. Some of you may know, and it's subtitled, and it's kind of designed to be friendly for the whole sort of social media thing, and so that sort of thing is what we're talking about here. It's pretty cool. It's so there's a suite of 8 films came out of that interview with Abby Horn, and like Claire was saying, she's sold directly as a result of that. And I think it's worth saying that they only work if you share them proactively, if you let people know what's going on, if you let people see them. So they can either be part of an outward bound and sort of a kind of sort of a push campaign. So you're kind of, you're sharing it through your social channels, or you're deploying it in a very sort of precise, laser focused way. But all of those we did for Abbey Horn kind of are very much kind of for Claire Jones with Abby. They're very clear focus. Right. There we go. I don't think there's much more to say about that. Commercial break over. So yeah, testimonials. They can be as simple as asking a client to pick up a camera and say a few words to it. It can just be somebody kind of saying nice things about you to a camera, and then using that in a very kind of specific way. Either on it could just sit on a sales page, but there's the ways you can use testimonials are many and varied. And in fact, I think I actually have I have a freebie all about this. If you're in the membership, you'll have this already, but I'll check. God, this is something that probably needs updating. Oh no, apparently I've already got a Kartra page open. Flipping Kartra. Oh my god. Is that it? Have I? There it is. There it is. Actually, so we'll just share this as a. We'll share this as a. So I have a freebie all about testimonials, and I will just see if I can dig it out. If you are looking at this and thinking, I'd like to know more, well, that is there for you if you want. Membership, content files, video testimonial guide. That sounds about right, doesn't it? That sounds about right. Let's see. Yeah, okay. So this is. I will share this after the live. But yeah, so what do I want you guys to take away from this? I would love for you to take away from this the sense that that there are there's an easy path to getting testimonials, and there's kind of they are an important and valuable part of your communications sort of arsenal, and they don't have to be overcomplicated. You don't need them to be super polished. In fact, you don't want them to be super polished. So my sort of challenge to you is to have a think. Which of the customers that you have, who would give you a great testimonial? And what would that, how do you want to go about getting that? Because you could message them tomorrow morning and say, would you be okay to give me a video testimonial. I'm looking to get some video for my website or for socials, and I'd love to hear your take on my project or service. And it could be as simple as that, nothing more complicated. On that note, we're 50 minutes. You've listened, you've put up with me for this long. Well done. I tip my hat to you. I raise a glass. Have a lovely rest of the evening, and thank you for being here. It's been a fabulous thing. So Andy's just, yes. Editing tomorrow. I was going to do it tonight, but I didn't really feel like it, if I'm honest. Yes. Andy says, I will do that. I've got about 4 o'clock. Yes, Andy, there's people. Your stuff is so beautiful. Do it. You won't regret it. Right. Have a fabulous rest of the evening. I will see you tomorrow. And I will be here next week, 7 o'clock Thursday, for another episode of Content and Cocktails.